Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We have hit some milestones recently, and I was like, hey, let's just have a live stream to celebrate. And I roped Lainey and Lindsay into it. I hit 100K subs, which is bonkers. And I technically sold a book, but technically that was December and it was just announced. So I've really cooled on that, but that sounds so awful. But meaning I'm less excited than I was in December when I had to keep it a secret. But Lindsay and Lainey got agents. So first of all, a rarity for me on this channel. We are drinking to celebrate. I don't own Prosecco glasses, so I have Prosecco in one of those cooler things you drink from. What is everyone drinking if they're drinking? It is optional.
I'm not drinking except for water, but I am eating a pizza, so that's my celebratory thing that's upcoming.
Whatever works. I also have water. Cheers for the water squad. Double fisting.
I also have water, but I'm also drinking. I'm drinking Truly.
That's like half water.
But I put it in my Game of Thrones wine glass to feel fancy. So
I love it. I love it. All right. So this is also partly my way of getting you on here. Obviously, we talk privately plenty, but this is me wanting to grill you, tell me everything. I want us to talk about your querying journeys and all that stuff. I'm just so excited. So mostly it's about you. But we can talk about anything we want realistically. I am going to pepper you guys with questions. But in the comments, if you're watching, join, celebrate, ask writing questions, ask questions about, what it's like to query in 2020. Both of these ladies can speak to that hellscape. But, we can talk about YouTube itself, authortube, because we're all killing it, right? Submission. I don't know. Let's talk about things. And Lindsay's like, no. Let's not talk about submission. Yeah. All right.
Whatever.
All right. We got water squad in the comments. Yeah. You should always hydrate. Water is essential. And whenever we're on Thirsty Thursday with Laura and Kevin, we're always in the comments drink water. Well, because in fairness, that is at 4:30 p.m. on a weekday. So yes, I'm always drinking water for those live streams. I don't drink during work. But it is 2 p.m. in California, so I'm making an exception, but it's the weekend, so that's all right. Yes. Lozelle sold another book. Yeah. It announced unexpectedly, we were what? We kind of knew, but we were that came out of nowhere. Lozelle's in the chat.
Yeah, we I guess I just found this out. You don't know when you're going to be announced. It kind of surprises the author too, because I was getting after you, Alexa, because I found out through a pitch. What is it? Publisher Marketplace. And I was like, Alexa, how dare you not tell me?
Publishers Weekly. So I guess we can talk a little bit about that. Yes. So essentially, either your agent or your editor submits your deal announcement to Publishers Weekly, and they're kind of the leader. Publishers Weekly, you typically want to be announced there first, and then you can put it on PM. God, I haven't even checked to see if my announcement is mirrored on PM yet. I'm sure my agent did it. And they just submit it to Publishers Weekly, and Publishers Weekly, the last 2 times I had book deals announced, I was told they're really backed up, so it could be a few weeks. And then every Tuesday and Thursday, you just have to check to see if you were announced that day. Though it's funny, with Brightly Burning, I think I was in the next edition, but with both the Ivies and this one, I had to wait 2 weeks. This one was the longest. It was 2.5 weeks. So I had everything ready to go. I had my announcement video. I had my vlog, which I still have to finish editing. Actually, that will go up. But I finished filming it in mid-January, so it's going to go up a month later and be very old. And I would just had to wait. And so people might have noticed my posting schedule, my video schedule got really weird for 3 weeks. And that's because I had 2 videos I expected to post and couldn't post because Publishers Weekly was just nah, not today. And then it happened, and I was out of the blue, and I was very overwhelmed because I was not prepared. And Lindsay shamed me in chat for not telling her.
I thought you knew, and you were just like not telling us. And then I knew, and I was like, my feelings are hurt.
I mean, I know it. I told you guys I sold the book, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't know when the announcement was going to go up. And so Lizelle was the same, where like you send it in and they told her who knows when. And then it just drops like that. See, it's arbitrary. I think what they probably do, and this is like a conspiracy theory not based on fact, they probably look at what's been submitted to them and just like try to have variety in it. So there's not too much YA and not too much middle grade or graphic novels. And so they just like put you in when they feel like it. I don't know. All right. We're already getting some cool questions, and I do want to grill you about querying and stuff. Sorry, hair on my lip. But someone asked a question that I liked, and I don't want to lose it. It's here somewhere. Hold on. Keep talking while I look.
Well, Lainey's wearing her new glasses. We're bad influence on each other. We made each other buy glasses together.
Okay, you can actually answer
in the live show.
You can answer a question for me. I'm a lifelong glasses wearer, and I don't understand glasses chains. Please explain this logic.
Do you have to have glasses on to see far away?
Yes.
Okay, so do I, technically. So, like, there's no reason for us who can't see far away to have glasses chains, because, like, if we take them off, then it's like, well,
I can't see.
Yeah, so, like, these aren't prescription. So, because they're not prescription, that I'm able to, like, wear them, because I'm wearing my contacts right now. So, I'm able to, like, take off the chain and be like, woohoo!
You wear chunky glasses for aesthetics, Lainey?
Well, these are blue light blockers.
Oh. See, I did see that in your vlog, and my brain went, but how does she see? And you wear contacts. See, I don't wear contacts. So I have severely dry eyes is what I have been told. And I basically have an allergic reaction to contacts every time I wear them. Allergic in the sense that like my eyes get dry, itchy, and then they're irritated for days. So I used to be like, I'm going to a wedding. I'm going to suffer for 3 days after I wear these contacts. And now I just don't bother. I just buy cuter glasses. My confidence has improved. Yeah. When I was younger, though, I would do that thing. All my pictures when I was younger, I don't have my glasses on because I would just take them off for the picture. And I don't do that anymore. So there's this illusion in my youth. If you look at photos, you wouldn't think I was a glasses wearer. I was. And they were the cheapest ones that were covered by insurance, and they were not cute. So
yeah, well, Lizelle said that she legit bought glasses chains because she saw Lindsay and I wearing them. But here's the thing, like 2 years ago,
they're cute as hell.
Yeah, well, 2 years
that's
ago,
why I want to know.
I saw Lindsay like wearing them in her videos, and I'm like, I want glasses chains. So I ended up buying one for like my regular glasses, and I'm like, there's no point for me to have these chains on my glasses because I don't take them off. I can't.
The 1950s librarian energy. Like I'm really like vibing on it.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like grandma. Anything that makes me like grandma vibes, I'm totally for it. So
you
Lainey,
need to read
who had them first before me was Susan Dennard. Susan Dennard had them, and I was like, oh, I want those. So it's literally a chain of chains.
I need you to beta read my next book. It's literally a grandma energy book. So,
I got you.
Because there's a literal grandma. So this is the question that I wanted to come up to catch, because I guess we'll start with a little bit of saltiness, I suppose, but it's apropos of the subscriber goals and whatnot. Are there parts of AuthorTube you don't enjoy? I feel like we all probably have different and interesting answers to this. I'll say that I would have said, and I still kind of will say, vlogging for me, because it's hard to do well, but I'm learning to enjoy it. So a year ago, I would have said vlogging. Now it's like, well, I switched my video editor. I use the one Lainey uses now, and it's easier for editing vlogs, and that has helped a lot. But it's mostly I just keep forgetting to film. But I'll think about more meta answers to that while you guys give answers. Hold on, my cat is like trying to climb over my candle.
I'm having a hard time coming up with anything.
Yeah, I don't have anything like too salacious, so I was just gonna go last. I mean, like, I don't love filming. Like, I get like hot and sweaty when I'm filming, and I'm like, this isn't fun. But I like editing and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like
it's a
you
pretty
have to
safe
like
corner.
editing.
It's a pretty safe corner on the internet, I feel like. I mean,
yeah,
as you get more subscribers, you get
Yeah.
more different kind of comments. But
so that would be my one thing, the parts of authortube I don't enjoy. But I think it's a YouTube problem. I don't think it's just authortube.
Mhm.
But the bigger you get, there's this weird perception switch where people, and even I've done it in the past, and now that, and so like sometimes I'll just like look at my subs and I'll be like, to think that I made assumptions about that channel over there when I thought they were like a big Huda, and now I have the same subs as that, and I still feel like myself. I bet they feel that way. Like, as you kind of, but people will assume that you're arrogant, that you don't like care about, you don't want to bother with commenters. I enjoy shocking people when I respond to their comments. I really enjoy it because they assume big channels don't read or respond to comments, and I'm like, but some of those assumptions can just be a real drag, because hearing yourself speculated about and gossiped about is super weird. Like, some of the assumptions are bonkers. And that's a part I don't enjoy. I don't like some of the wild speculation about how I must feel and what I must think because I'm a big channel or whatever. But that's YouTube.
What's the most wild theory you've ever seen about yourself?
I don't know if I can disclose that without revealing things I've read on Guru Gossiper, and I feel like that's a no man's land. So I'll just say like speculations about who I'm friends with and who I'm not friends with, and other lifestyle things that I'm just gonna side eye. And now I'll catch up with the comments as you guys say something else.
Just Eva said competition, and I found that really interesting because that seems like it would be an obvious thing, because we're all creating books and writing, but I don't know if I've ever felt that way about other author tubers.
I know some people do, like, because we've definitely seen some author tubers make pretty candid videos, and I love those sorts of videos where they've talked about their feelings and experiences with authortube. I felt it a little, but like not in a malicious way. Like when I see someone do a really cool video idea, or if they're just really like, I feel that when someone's amazing at vlogging. Lainey, there are other people as well, but it's less so like, darn, they're my competition, and more like, wow, they're really good at something that I enjoy watching. I wish I could do that thing. If I were good at that thing, that would be great for my channel. Like that has crossed my mind. Like when Kate is so good at stunts. When she did writing, like, I was like, that is so smart.
Like, yeah. I think everybody was like, damn, that was a good idea.
We respected the game. But then it wasn't about competition. It was more like, oh, I wish I were that good.
Yeah.
It's how you frame it.
I think I find I know there's one thing that bothers me about authortube is when people say that it's dying, because
that bugs me.
I truly don't feel like it is. I think people who say that don't know how to find more people to watch, because I YouTube searched yesterday morning, like writing vlogs. I just typed it in and was like watching some, and they're from people I've never seen before. So I'm like, you can
find new people
more
all the time. Yeah.
Besides like, the regular wheel of people that you always see in authortube, if you just search for it. And yeah, I mean, I personally don't see it dying. Is it something that you'll get 1 million subscribers with?
Yeah.
No. But it's not dying.
Yeah, I agree. And I find often where those comments come from, it is definitely frustration with saturation. Like we've grown, and with growth naturally comes fragmentation of audience, etc. Like I can get all like, put on my glasses, all like bookish librarian about it. But I also think people who are more inclined to say that aren't branching out with their content that they're viewing. Because like authortube has evolved. It's not dying. It's growing and it's evolving. And you do have to, if you don't like vlogs, you are kind of SOL. If you don't like live streams, because those are the core of a lot of really great new channels that are more process-based, following process, not advice. If you think all authortube is like, here's how you do this thing, yeah, that's definitely fallen out of favor. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We have to grow. We have to expand. We can't have 8 million people doing the same things. And I speak as someone who has kind of like squatted on advice giving. Like, obviously I do it, and I feel bad because I'm like, because it is true. You don't want to make the same video 8 million people have made, which is why there were like videos on channels that I looked up to. I never made those topics because I was like, why they did that? Like, they did it well.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't talk about filtering for almost 4 years because I was like, why would you need to hear from me about filtering? Like, and I slipped it into another video. But yeah, if you think of it that way, like only how-tos and advice, maybe, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Let's see. Comments. There were some good questions. We'll come back to the authortube conversation, but there was a question here. How long did it take you guys to get an agent, and how many drafts did you go through before you queried?
Well, it's just like
I love this.
You know what's funny is that Lindsay and I started lighting. We started querying at the same time at the end of 2019. Like, and then I quit because I'm like, this is going horribly. But Lindsay stuck it out all through 2020. So like, I would not have had that kind of willpower.
Yeah, so like 2020 with our current books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so I guess with this current book, we queried for a year, roughly?
Yeah, for me, I queried from like the end of October of 2019 till January, and then it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, and I'm like, okay, bye, I'm done. And then I mean, the pandemic and everything, and like I've talked about this on my channel with like mental health, like I was straight up depressed. So like I was like, I'm done writing for a while. And then I didn't start then I revised, and like it was a huge major overhaul of the book. Like I feel like the plot and everything else was still essentially the same, but like everything else was just changed. And then I started querying on election night. And then I got an agent by January, which I realize is kind of a fast timeline, technically, from November to January for this version of the book. But I mean, years before that were querying hell.
Yeah, same. I started querying in late 2018, early 2019 with my first book, and that didn't work out, so I switched. And then what was the second part of that question? There was something else.
How many drafts?
For the Glass Witch, I did 4 drafts before I started querying. For my first book, it was like 7 or something.
For the first version of Cruel Family, it was 3. And then through 2020, when I was revising it, I queried the 6th draft, and that's what got me my agent.
Yeah, it goes to show, like, and I think, Lainey, you're a great example. And I mean, I had a front row seat, so it helped, like, I have perspective. But if you do go back out querying and you're not getting the results you want, sometimes that is exactly the thing to do. You pull it, you reassess, and you revise again. If you know, it's the manuscript that you want to go in on. I'll throw myself in briefly. I know I'm like a bad example. I queried a first draft. Don't do that. And it didn't, but it was 2016. Querying was faster then, so it didn't take that long, relatively speaking. My previous book took way longer, multiple drafts. I think I did 4 drafts of my first book that got my first agent. And then it didn't sell. Which is my long storied history. But yeah, don't query a first draft. Like, because obviously it all worked out. Like, I'm fine. But I 100% got rejections from agents on that because of the state that it was in. And like, I might have had more offers if I had done another revision. But in fairness, I was in a weird, raw, emotional place where I lost an agent, though. So that's why I rushed. But that's why I'm always forgiving of authors. We will give you advice, but if you don't follow it, you're human. It's okay. But then you have to accept the consequences of what you do. And I accept that I should have probably waited. There was another good question here. Oh, this is a good one. Very specific. How many questions about the contract did you ask on the call with your agents? But the agency contract, I'm assuming that is.
Oh.
Yeah. I know not everyone asks questions about the contract, so.
I did ask to see it but she said that they don't do that before.
Really?
Which but then I had 2 offers. So then the other agent that offered, she sent it to me like right after our phone call. She's like, I didn't even have to ask. She just sent it to me because I was like, I was just, after like that first conversation with like who is my agent now, I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask this next agent for the contract then. But
it's pretty standard to provide it. And what's funny is like I've seen your contract. There's nothing unusual about it, so it's interesting that they don't share it. But I did ask, and you can ask too. And this is partly just educating myself at the time, and it's part of the reason I know more and can give better advice. I asked about the subrights percentages because they do vary. 15% is standard for domestic, and an agent shouldn't have more. If you see more, that's a red flag. But foreign rates vary agency to agency. In some contracts, you're going to see 20%, and some you're going to see 25%, and in some you're going to see 30%. And when I signed with my current agent, it was higher than I had ever seen at the time. It was 30%. And I just asked, and she explained it to me, and it made like her answer made complete sense. Some agencies are 30%. Like like some of the big ones too. So it's not that unusual. And it's about how many co-agents they work with that determines that. So I asked about that, and I'm glad I did because I learned something. What else did I ask about the contract? Anything else for you guys that came up?
I didn't ask a question about it. Maybe that was bad, but she said to me. And
most contracts are normal, thankfully. It's pretty rare, I find, for an agency contract to be shady. So I will say, just relative to that, we didn't ask. But if you do see any clauses about them being like having an entitlement, like ownership in terms of representation, to your concepts, to your book concepts forever, I would push back on that. I have seen that where they're a bit like, if we sell a book with this in it, like we forever will rep any book set in that universe. And I'm like, no, just change that. That's one to look out for. You can ask about, I do find that it's, if you see one, because these exist as well, where they are entitled to be your representation for all creative works. I tend to think that's worth asking about if you do anything other than writing books, because it's just kind of a matter of understanding. If you ever write a screenplay, is that going to screw you over in Hollywood? I think those things are good to understand. And a couple of literary agencies now have clauses like that. So there was another one good here about, of course, Lizelle asked a great question. Is there anything about the agent relationship going on sub that has surprised you? I know y'all are fresh, but I feel like there might be some things.
I feel like I can't talk about some of the stuff that's surprising me.
That is also the hard part. It's like, what can I talk about?
Yeah, like everyone always says, like, oh, I can't talk about submission. And I was like, okay, but can you really not? And now I'm like, wow, you really can't talk about submission. Like it's wild.
Well, I mean, yes, we only have had our agents for like a month and some change, but not long after I announced, I got a email from like a video game company asking me if I wanted to do freelance for them. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. So I talked to my agent about it. And she's like, just send them my way. And I'm like, okay. So then I just sent that person over to her, and I kind of forgot about it for the next couple of days. And then she came back to me like on the Monday saying like, okay, I talked to the person. This is everything. And she sent me like this long email about like all like the nitty gritty and the kind of like the outline of like what the project would be. And then she's like, here's my take on it and everything like that. And I was like, dang, agents really do their work.
Yeah. The good
I was
ones
so
do.
blown
Yeah.
away, but like all the details she put into like this one random inquiry. So
Yeah. This is a random one that surprised me. It came as a surprise to me when I discovered I could text my agent, which might be agent specific. My agent she basically will let us, her clients, communicate with her in whichever way is most organic for us. And it's different client to client. But another client was like, oh yeah, I text. I was like, I can text my agent? And no regrets, haven't gone back. It evolved our relationship in the sense that like I was putting so much like weight into every email. I was like, okay, it's a business relationship. I'm going to send her an email. I need to be organized. Okay. But like texting is so great because questions they don't have the same weight as like a formal email where I have to come up with a subject line. And it's made it easier to ask her casual questions or questions that I think might be stupid. There's really no stupid questions. And that has been a surprise to me. And going on sub, like, this shouldn't have been a surprise, but it was. I feel silly. I suggested an editor who had read my previous manuscript and liked it and said, send me your next one. And it was like a pleasant surprise. Like, this isn't a bad surprise, but my agent was like, oh, she's really not the right fit because she just acquired a really similar book 2 years ago. And I was like, that shouldn't have surprised me, but I was like, that's so smart. My agent's that was a trust building moment for us where I was like, you're smarter than me. I'm so glad you're my agent. Like, that's the thing. They're supposed to know that shit that you don't know.
mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It was a pleasant surprise.
I do have one that I feel like I can talk about. So I just assumed that submission would be like very similar in timeline to query. And I think in a lot of ways it is. So like when we went out on sub, I was like, okay, well, it'll probably take editors 12 weeks plus to like even see the pitch or whatever. I don't know if that's like true for everyone, but I was like really surprised when I found out we were like getting responses. Like I just assumed it would take forever. And I know it slows down like once they actually like start reading or whatever, but I just assumed it was like querying all over again, where I was like, okay, well, I guess I won't hear anything for like 6 months.
Very different.
Yeah, so
well,
that's kind of wild.
It's very different when you have a good agent. And this is why I do warn people. Like, they don't believe me. I'm like, I'm not doing this to like ruin all your hopes and dreams, but to like, if you signed with a schmagent, this is they don't get those immediate responses to submission. You might not ever get confirmation that an editor is reading your book, but when you sign with agents at particular agencies that's because it's relationships. An editor, knock on wood, isn't going to ignore someone they have a relationship with. And also, your agent was trained by my agent, so I can also guarantee you this is another reason. My agent removes editors from her sub list if they ghost on submissions and if they're non-responders. So Sam's probably knows who those editors are, is my point. So that's the other thing. Smart agents pick editors who respond. They pick editors who read, because the point is to get you read. But yeah, you'll usually get confirmation in 24 to 48 hours. It's like,
which is
confirmation. And then you wait.
Yeah.
It's nice though. It's like you feel like seen.
Yeah, like, oh, it's real. Like this is happening.
It's real. Yeah. And like, I know I'm a weirdo, but that's what I liked about submission rejections. I mean, I don't like submission rejections, obviously. I have a lot of like strong and bitter feelings about it, as we all do or will. Because that's the thing, even the nicest rejections, you're like, but you know they read your book, and there's something nice about that. It's like you're a real author. They might have said no, but they read you because you wrote a book and you're an author. Wow. And I really, that was fun. I should say I enjoyed that the first couple times around. I think it's less fun now, because now it's like, all right. We have a lot of good questions. Not to bump us back to authortube, but just because I want to go in order so I don't lose things. I like this question. The hardest thing about being an authortube content creator and authors at the same time.
I think the failing publicly is always something that I really struggle with. Because I mean, like, I've been doing writing vlogs literally since 2016. And I mean, it's like kind of when you keep doing all these videos, and I in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking like, all these people that keep watching me, they haven't seen me get to the next step yet. So like, that it's like kind of, I don't want to say it's pressure, but it's just that I feel bad that like people are invested in my journey when my journey hasn't really gone anywhere at the time yet. And then I hate failing publicly, failing at querying. I don't want to talk about it. At the time I didn't want to talk about it. And like even pitch contests with like kind of a bigger following on Twitter, don't want to fail at that either. So like, I think that's like the hardest thing. I don't have a really big problem, I feel like, balancing, because I think maybe that's kind of what this question is kind of asking, like balancing authortube and writing your own books. I don't really have a problem with that. I just time management through the week that it's not that much of a problem for me. But yeah.
I agree. I feel like right now I'm kind of like still on the, I just got an agent high. But if I don't have like any news to announce in like 6 or 8 months, I'm just going to be like feeling that pressure again. Like, oh, people are expecting me to sell a book now. Like, where's it at? Where's it at? You know? So the pressure is like really, really intense because people are watching you. And even if they're not putting pressure on you, you put it on yourself. So it's rough.
Yeah, and I can speak to the balance aspect of it. I mean, it's definitely tricky sometimes in the sense that I've thought to myself, especially recently, wow, I could definitely be even better at YouTube. I could really like kill the content creation game. I could be more ambitious, etc. But for me, it's if I didn't have my day job. I feel like if you don't have a day job, depending on your situation, obviously, and YouTube is more of like, you make YouTube videos. Like I'm thinking of full-time YouTubers, like the big ones who like it is their job. Yeah, I think you can like fit writing on the side just the same way that we all balance our day jobs or whatever our day responsibilities are with writing. And I'm so used to that balance that it doesn't really throw me creating YouTube videos and writing books. It doesn't bother me, except that I do think I could do even more in terms of content creation if I had more time.
I think working from home has like made it easier.
Easier, and yet I've slowed down. I'm like, I make even fewer YouTube videos now.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully no one from my job ever finds this, but like, I mean, I have my work laptop here. I got my other personal laptop here. Do I edit videos sometimes during the workday? Maybe.
I film over my lunch hour, but my boss knows. Like if she sees me with makeup, she gets suspicious. She's like, "You look good." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna film a video over my lunch hour." Caught, because I just normally don't look like this. I know everyone thinks I look like I do this. I'm like, no, it's really just for YouTube, which there's a level of artificiality with YouTube and events. Like when I used to leave the house, I would do this for book events, but yeah. But I will say like just because in terms of context of the hardest thing, it is sometimes balance. There are some days where I have to choose. I'm either going to get my words in for the day and it's a writing day, or it's an editing a video day. And I've, especially lately, because vlogs take so long, like I'm just going to keep like decrying them, even though like I'm all in. I'm glad I'm capturing the chaos of this draft. It's a mess. I want people to see like you can technically be a professional and be a hot mess drafting. But I've had days where it's been like, well, I could spend 2 hours editing videos, or I could write 500 words. And some days I pick the video, and then it's not a writing day. And like that, I mean, really, that wouldn't be a choice if I didn't also have my full-time job. So I would probably be able to do both. Who knows? But who knows? Let's not be too hard on ourselves. We're tired. Here's a good, like, just kind of formatting thing. Separating query letter pages synopsis, new lines, labels, dashes, doesn't matter. Yeah, you're overthinking a little, but it's adorable. I just like 3 or 4 spaces, like just kind of space them. If someone did ask for a synopsis, which most of them don't, I would just put on the top of it like synopsis, I guess, like a title label to break them up. But yeah, just like you can, I think a couple of spaces between your query and your pages is pretty standard. They expect it. They're not looking for any fancy formatting.
I did do dashes. So like I would like enter, and then I put like synopsis and then paste it below that. I always did the synopsis last because the synopsis is not as good as the rest of the stuff.
It doesn't have to
last.
be.
I always felt like my first pages in query were like really flashy, and then synopsis are always boring. So I'm like, we'll poop that at the bottom down there.
Yeah. I like this question as well, though I know you guys are pretty fresh to it being agented, but how did your perceptions about the publishing industry change when you became agented / went on sub / went published, became published? And if so, how did your perceptions change? Like, I mean, I can jump in.
Yeah.
I don't know if
really seen a difference yet.
Yeah. I don't know if my perception about the industry as a whole changed, but I guess like this is a little not the same question, but Lainey, did you feel like you were suddenly like in a fishbowl? Like people were watching you even harder, like once you announced?
Yeah, because like I did get like a bump up increase in like followers on like all my platforms. Like I gained like 400 subscribers on YouTube after I made that announcement video, and I haven't seen a 400 plus growth in like over a couple of years. So I was like, dang, I got a lot of new people watching me now.
And like at the same time as feeling like there's so many new people watching you, I think I did realize, okay, so one of the perceptions was I did realize, and I'd always known this, but I realized truly how small the industry was. Because it was like, you know, so-and-so must have been following my agent who retweeted my announcement. And they're a New York Times bestseller who also happens to be like my critique partner's critique partner who's best friends with. And it just like all of a sudden I was having people that were like famous. And I had like read their book and they were like, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And I was like, how do you know who I am?
I love that.
Yeah. So that's what I kind of noticed the shift in.
Gosh, it's such a good question and a big question that I'm not even sure how to answer it. And because also, like, the further you get into it, the like I forget what did I think all those years ago. I feel like I've just been in a perpetual state of like jaded pragmatism for a while. Yeah, definitely realizing that it was smaller than we think, but also just that I'd say probably perception-wise for me, like a big one. I need to be positive. Publishing's great, and I love publishing, like genuinely. But like, I think we put them on a pedestal as, you know, the arbiters of taste, and like they're so amazing, and like they publish all these books, but like there's plenty of bullshit in publishing too, I think is the way to say it. And like, so my perception has changed a little. I'm a little more jaded. I feel gaslit by publishing plenty of the time. And if you feel that way too, it's normal. Well, I guess like things like when I realized how the Times list actually worked, that was a perception of publishing that changed for me in a jaded way. Not that that's literally publishing, but like, yeah. But at the same time, like I love facts. I love reality because it helps me like prepare and react. So like, I'm not mad about it. I'm just kind of like, but it's good because it actually means that you don't take it personally when things happen, because you realize, oh, it's not like a value judgment on me that anointed amazing publishing didn't do XYZ. It's a weird business run by humans who are fallible, and there are a lot of factors that go into it. Does that make sense? I'm rambling.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It really does.
But that was a perception change for me, because I think all of us, before we cross the line, we think we get an agent, we've passed that gatekeeper, we're great, publishing's this magical place, and it's like great now. But there's still hurdles and there's still like weird things that go on. And I think you just have to like kind of shrug emoji about it sometimes. Yeah. This is an interesting question. Do you get pressure from your agents to quit your job and go into writing full time? I know it hasn't been long for you guys. I don't know if it came up at all for you.
No. I mean, I'm going to stick in my day job as long as I can because of health insurance.
Yep, same. With my latest deal, people are like, you going to quit your job? I'm like, no. I'm still good. I don't get paid that much. I haven't, thankfully. My agent is just like, I mean, I'll just sing her praises some more because I adore her. She's chill. She's very chill and not a particularly prescriptive agent. But to give some credence to this question, some agents do. It really depends on the agent. Some agents just vastly prefer to have clients who are career authors, who are full-time authors. And I did have, like, it wasn't so much pressure, but I do know someone whose agent, who's a powerhouse, definitely had the conversation. It wasn't so much like, so when are you going to quit your job, or you should quit your job? But it was more like and this might be exactly what you want, in fairness. But here's the thing about publishing. So many things are out of your control but the agent more or less said that her aim is for all of her clients to be able to write full time, that her job was to get them a great book deal with a great publisher, etc., so they could become full-time writers. And the person I know who was with this agent definitely felt like, odd. They were one of the few on the list that still had a job because the agent was good at that thing. So I think for some, it's just going to differ agent to agent. Some agents are more accustomed to having superstar authors who don't have to have day jobs than others, but I don't think there's usually pressure. So, yeah. Because also, in fairness, a lot of agents had day jobs until they sold enough books. So I think they understand the hustle. This is a good question for you guys. Did you sign for one book or multiple books? Is your agency a book-to-book agency or a career agency?
Career agency.
I think mine is too. I don't remember what my contract looks like. My first agent, though, was book-to-book contracts. Yeah. That was more like an at-will employment thing. Like, once we passed the first book, I didn't sign a new contract, but it was assumed that we would continue to work together. But the first contract had my specific book on it.
Yeah, my agency is also a career, and that was a question I asked on the call specifically. Yeah. I was like, do you represent like book to book, or like are you a career? And she's like, no, I don't represent offers. I don't offer rep to someone I don't see myself working with long term. So yeah,
I do know some agencies.
Sorry, is that like a red flag if they just do like one book?
No, I mean, because it's actually, like I said, it's very common for the contract you sign to have your book name on it. And even if it says that they only rep you for book, it actually can protect you only signing that contract, because it's way easier to walk away on later. I would say it's only a red flag, not if it's book to book contracts, but it's a red flag if you look at their sales and you notice they rarely sell second contracts for their clients. That's a red flag more than behavior. So the story I always love to tell just about like red flags and like book versus career. My agent didn't ask me about any of my other projects. She didn't ask me anything else I was working on. She didn't ask me about my career plans, nothing. And I'm friends with all of her. She's got a tiny list. We're all friends is what I'm getting at, but we talk, and we think it's hilarious because like we're the referral clients for for different people when she offers. And we always tell them like, her not asking is not a red flag. She literally is so in it for career that she like, maybe we should just tell her to tell people, but like, if she is offering, she loves your writing, period, and she will rep you till the ends of the earth. And it just doesn't come up on the call. But I know many people, like, if they don't ask you about your next book, other books, other projects, it's a red flag. Not always. Look at their sales. You can tell who the career authors are. So, yeah. I just think it's funny because even on the call, I was like, wow, she didn't ask me about my other projects. And she will rep anything I write, which is a gift, because that is not always the case. Like, this poor woman doesn't like dark books. And I was like, so I'm going to write about murder now. She's rolling with it. It's great. She now reps multiple thriller authors. She actually doesn't technically take those it's not on her manuscript wish list. She's like, I don't technically rep thrillers, but now I rep a bunch of you, because we all turned into thriller writers. So, whoops.
Yeah, Elle asked me. Oh, sorry, continue.
No, you're good.
Oh, I was going to say, Elle asked me like what other stuff I was working on, and I feel like I pitched my other projects so horribly that I was so tongue-tied on the call because I wasn't expecting that question. But she seemed cool with it, so.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I didn't even this one was right under it. Do agents want to know all your book ideas? Or are they like, whoa, slow down? It depends. I will say, again, just to offer perspective, I talked about multiple book ideas with my first agent, but it didn't matter because we ultimately weren't a fit long term. So I think people really overemphasize, well, they need to like all of my book ideas. Plus, you don't know where you're going to end up. I'm just so chill about it now. I mean, I seem intense, but I promise I'm chill. Oh, this is a good question for you guys. Has it been difficult being so open about your journey online? You both talked about imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Back to the whole publicly failing thing.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine telling you guys when the rare times that I triumph, I'm okay. But when I fail, that sucks. And there's always this voice in the back of my head that's and it's stuff psychologically I should be working through, but it's if I don't get an agent, they're gonna think, well, obviously she can't write, she's not talented. So I definitely went through that a few times, and that's not true. There's a million reasons why you don't get an agent with your first book or whatever.
Yeah.
So
and
that's hard.
And it's also I love that you guys have been doing it since the beginning. And I've wondered so many times, what if I started a channel years earlier? And I wouldn't have, because I wasn't comfortable being on camera yet. But because I think you guys have to struggle with things that I don't envy, like failing publicly, etc. And I've loved your videos where you've been vulnerable and opened up about that. But you guys have been able to show people I think this is what authortube is for, literally the journey from start to finish, how long it can take, how much work it takes. It's so much work, how many ups and downs it takes, but that it is a long game. And ultimately that is what publishing is, traditional publishing. And I think it's amazing that you get to see it. But in terms of being open about your journey online, I definitely felt that for a while and just didn't express it publicly. I can express it in hindsight about whether or not I would ever sell another book and whether or not I would publicly faceplant on YouTube a giant failure. And so when I sold, when I sold the Ivies, I was like, whew, okay, I won. But honestly, selling this next one is oh, it's not a fluke. And that was a relief, because people know I'm writing this book.
Yeah, it's funny with the imposter syndrome too, because I never really felt imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome really, until after my offer. And Lindsay and I were texting each other about this back and forth, because it was this really weird state of being where it's I didn't fully understand why she loved it. I'm what do you mean you loved my book and you want to represent it? And it was having that with all my other rejections being you must be the one that's wrong, because all these other people did not like my book.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It gets worse.
Yeah,
with submission. Yeah. Here's the thing, they say it only takes one, and it is completely true. But that gaslights you so hard.
Mm-hmm.
With my first agent, especially because we didn't sell that book and then we ended up parting ways for legitimate fit reasons, that my imposter syndrome was so bad though, because I was I shouldn't, I didn't deserve an agent in the first place. I'm actually garbage and I will never be published or write again. I like, it got dark because we don't trust ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even like, so I'm like almost done with my agent edits before we go on sub, and like as I'm reading through it and I'm like doing my revisions for it, I'm like, can't believe she offered on this draft. I love the book, but I was like, I'm changing all these things to make it better, and I'm like thinking of like all like the things that like didn't make it the way it is now, and I'm like, how did not one but two agents want to represent this?
Yep. Yeah, submissions like that too. Oh God. Sorry, war flashbacks. It's fine. This is just like a quickie, very specific thing. Do agents recommend changes to the book, such as names and events? And when is it okay to say no? The end, should you go with a new one? I don't know if that means a new agent or what, but have you guys, since you both have your edit letters, Lindsay, you've done your edits and you're on submission, Lainey, you're doing your edits, and I've gone through this a couple times as well. Did your agents want to change anything, like names or specific things in the book? And how did you approach that? The answer is yes, by the way. Sometimes they do want to make specific changes.
Yeah, not with my agent. I did get an R&R last summer that got rejected, and like obviously there were revisions there that she wanted to change, but not so much with my agent. My agent was mainly, I think me and Lainey were both in the same boat here, where we got really lucky with having very light agent edits for our books. So I think
that's because you guys did so much work on them.
Yeah.
During querying. And I think that makes the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. My agent was pretty much just like, let's up the tension and the angst and the romance. And I'm like, okay.
Those are the best notes.
That I can do.
Like when my editor was like, what do you think about changing this thing so that the ending is really bleak? And I was like, oh, and she gave me permission to write about Victorian mansions more. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll lovingly describe hardwood floors. Sure. But briefly, like my one tiny one, yes, this does happen. But like it should be an organic process. Like it's not them telling you dictatorially what you have to do. It should always be like, you should value their opinion. You should think about what they're telling you. You can always say no. I've actually said no to my editors more than I've ever said no to my agent, and that doesn't mean that my editors are wrong and my agent is right, but my agent sees much more raw versions of my books. And so she points out things that have to change. But when is it okay to say no? Whenever something is a no for you is when it's okay to say no. You just have to, you don't say no too much. But with the Ivies, I can just give you two examples. I had a funeral scene and my agent was like, this happens too fast. Like, meaning like, and she was right. Logistically, there wouldn't be a funeral that fast. And for pacing reasons, I had to cut it. So that's like an event that I had to change. No big. And actually, and in The Stars We Steal, she like flat out was like, get rid of dinner parties. Like you have too many. That was a great edit. And my main, or one of my, like my mean girl in the Ivy, she flat out said, you have to change her name. It doesn't work. And she gave me very good reasons and she was correct. And so we spent like 2 weeks trying to find a different name for that character. So that was but she was right. She knows more about rich people than I do, my agent. No, she made a really good point. She was like, her name's too popular. It's too trendy. Her parents wouldn't have named her that. And I was like, tell me more. And she did. And it was very interesting. So sometimes your agent knows more than you do and is very smart. So if anyone wants to know, her name was Madison. Just the most basic bitch name. So I'm glad I changed it because then I read like 4 YA books that had girls with that name with the same personality. So sorry, I'm like 20 minutes behind in chat.
I do remember when I was doing like my line edit with my agent. A thing you should know about me is like I really hate comma splices. Like I who needs that extra comma? Just, So I just never put them in because I hate them. And so like half of my edits were just like, you need a comma here. You need a comma here. And sometimes when I was doing the edits, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't want one here for like voice or for like flow or for like, just the musicality of the line. And I was like, is she going to drop me if I reject this edit? And in my head, I was like psyching myself up to like hit the reject button on that edit, man. It felt so good. Woo!
Oh, wait for copy edits. That's when shit gets real. But
there hasn't been one. I was just gonna say there hasn't been one revision that I haven't accepted yet. I'm a manuscript.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I get it. Let's do it. And
my
sometimes
favorite
she's like, I changed this line. She's like, I changed this line, but here's all the reasons why I did. And I'm like, I don't care. Accept.
That's
it
how
sounds
I am
better anyway.
My current editor, she's like, oh, what about this line rewrite? And I'm like, you might be a better writer than I am. Please don't tell. There are a couple lines in the Ivies where I'm like, my editor is very smart, and she did that better than me. Whoops. Copy edits. My favorite thing is stet for voice. You're going to use Lindsay. You're going to need it. Stet for voice is what you say when they say you need a comma here or whatever. Stet for voice. It's an authorial voice choice. Stet means reject. Basically, let it stand is technically what stet means. And you'll use it a ton in copy edits because it's like the proofreader word for no, I reject your change.
Oh, you hear
I don't
that?
do it all the time.
Lady, next time you read my book, I'm going to be like,
stet for voice. I did that not a lot in the Ivies, but it came up a couple times where I was like, nah, I said what I said. Like, it's supposed to sound that way. I don't care if it's not grammatically correct. Not in an egregious way. Commas are optional sometimes, and I will die on that hill. So. Yeah.
And great try, Devasia. I like commas. I just don't like them when it's a comma splice. Like when you're like, two clauses together, mush them, you have to put that comma. No.
I feel you.
I don't like it.
I love this question too. Is there anything you would have told yourself 5 years ago about agents, publishing, or authortube? That's a great question.
Time has no meaning. I can't even think of what 5 years ago was.
2016?
2016.
Oh, well, I've been on this platform since 2013. So
I would have told myself to start a YouTube channel sooner. I probably wouldn't have listened, but that's definitely one. I wish I'd started authortube sooner. Yeah, but I wouldn't have. So no regrets. I know I wouldn't have because I was afraid of publicly failing. Because 5 years ago, I wouldn't have had a new agent. So I know I wouldn't have. So.
I don't know if there's anything I would have said differently or because I very much believe that like everything happens for a reason. Yeah. Everything that you're going through kind of is the natural way it should have happened. So, I mean, I would have liked to have started a YouTube channel prior to 2013 because making the channel helped me with like public speaking and being confident and being more outgoing. Even though I am very much an introvert, I have like no qualms now, like talking in front of people or like just being more open, I guess, with people because of the channel. So yeah, I started my channel like a year before my senior year of college. So like if I would have been able to have like this energy through college, I feel like, not that I hated my college experience, I liked it, but I feel like it would have been so much better if I was like how I am now back then.
It's why I recommend people I recommend people join AuthorTube for many reasons, but one is it legit will make you will not be afraid of being on panels because you are used to, because essentially what is a panel? It's a one-way conversation to an audience. They just happen to physically be there. Although now, no, they're on Zoom, so it's all the same. Yeah, I agree. I'm also a no regrets kind of person. Everything happens for a reason, at least in my journey. And the thing is, 5 years ago, I was wallowing in despair because I thought I was worthless and a garbage writer who would never be published. So I would probably just give myself a pep talk. Like, keep going. Write that book. Write that next book. So, time is funny. Here's one. If you have a pen name, would you query with your real name or your pen name? And then, the chat jumped. So there was another one. Miranda asked Lainey and Lindsay specifically if you use pen names and if you queried with them.
I don't. My philosophy is Lainey Crest did the work. Lainey Crest is getting the credit. So that's why I'm not going under a pen name. Also, right. I also kind of want to be like hair flipped to like everybody I hated in high school when I have a name on a book.
Yes. I will say that's one of the downsides. Though I don't hide my pen name. Like I have posted my book stuff to my real Facebook page, so theoretically people from high school can see it. But Lainey, that has occurred to me. Like, man, if they Google me, they're not going to see my sweet books. They're going to regret not voting me most likely to succeed. I have nursed that for 20 years. Because the person who was, where are they now? Huh? I'm fine. I'm kidding. I'm not even that. No, you want to know the most important person who went to my high school? Donald Glover. So I'm nothing. Though he didn't graduate from my high school, which I do think has to be taken under consideration. But yeah, I found out we went to high school together and I had no clue because he transferred out. So
yeah, I'm writing under my name, but if I ever make a flip from middle grade to erotica, I have a great pen name. My husband's last name is Nixon, so my erotica name is going to be Vixen Nixon.
You have it all planned.
I have it all planned.
Wow.
Yeah. Look out.
So I use a pen name. So obviously, Alexa's my real name though, which helps. I queried as my real name, writing as Alexa Dunn. So me personally, but you could also just query as your pen name. I don't think people mind. You only need your legal name for the contract. Like your agent's going to need to know your legal name. So. This is a great question for you guys. How long was it from the full request to the offer call?
Oh. Well, I recently went back and I'm like, when did I query L? Because Alexa, you're the one that told me like query tonight. And I'm like, I don't think I'm ready. So
I'm pushy, but in a good way. I'm like Tina Fey. I'm a pusher.
So what's funny about like this little stretch of time here was that Elle was the very, very first agent I queried of the little batch that I sent. And then Elle was the first person to request the full. And then she was the first person to offer. So it happened election night. And then I queried her. She requested the full December 3rd, I think. And then she sent me the email to set up the call on January 8th.
Yes.
You're lucky. That was fast.
It was. But like, it's funny because one more side. December is like the worst time to query. Like I was in agony all December, all November too. It was like the worst time to query, and I don't know if I would recommend it, but it was like the most agonizing time I've ever had to query. But then it ended up being the fastest time I've ever got. Like I got an offer. So
wow.
For me, it was 5 months. So I queried Samantha in August, and then she was kind of in a weird transition period between agencies. So she didn't want to offer to me and then be like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving my agency next week. Come with me or whatever. So that would just be weird. So she was like, well, I don't want to, get into it until I'm like firmly at my new home agency. So she said otherwise it wouldn't have taken her 5 months, but I don't feel like even 5 months from full request to offer is that like unheard of.
That's not bad.
So yeah,
actually,
at all.
I just looked mine up for Brightly Burning. 18 days, but it was 18 days because someone else offered first. So it might have taken longer if there hadn't been another offer, but that's nothing. Yeah. I feel like a jerk. Yeah. It's 2016 though, different time. Different time. Oh, there was a good one here. When should you shelve a manuscript? This is not an easy question to answer because there's no definitive answer, but I'm curious what you guys think. We've all shelved manuscripts in querying, so.
Yeah, so I've queried, I guess technically the query segment that got me my agent was the 4th time I queried, but it was the 3rd book that I had queried. The first one I quit around after 30 rejections. One, because I didn't really want to query anymore. And also I felt like this no longer represented me as a writer and I wanted to write something new. And then subsequent books, when I queried Sharp Hollows, it was only about 20 to 30. And then when I tried Cruel Family at the end of 2019 for the first time, that was 16, I think. And then I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is like a gut feeling, you know, like
yeah.
Your gut, I feel like you kind of know when something's about to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think I had I think I had more than you, Lainey. I had like 50 or so on When the Sea Came for Us. So that, yeah. Then I was like, there was no one else to query. So I was like, well, okay, I guess that's over.
That's what I do think you have to develop that gut feeling, so to speak. And I think that's why this question does come up so often. And I mean, it should. I don't expect anyone to like know this. And people do ask like after 100 rejections. And I mean, I've made my opinion known on this. I don't think you should query 100 people, but I also think that one must develop that sense. And it doesn't come naturally. I know why people would keep querying because we cling to hope. And sometimes it works out. Like sometimes it's literally the 105th agent. And I just really hope it's a good agent. That is why I worry about people. It's not because really think about what you want for the book. And I think that Lainey, I know that's why you tapped out sooner rather than later, partly because you're friends with me and you've listened to me probably too much, but really think about who you want to be repped by, where you want to be published, and then honestly assess what has the response been from essentially your top agents. Like how many agents are there realistically who would represent me well the way I want on this book? And that's really what should be guiding what you do. And so for me, just because I understood the YA sci-fi market, sadly, I never went over 30 agents querying. And so on the second one, like, here's the thing, I could just tell the second one was a dud. It didn't land as well in the query trenches as my first one. And I think I tapped out at 23. I just like, sometimes the writing's on the wall. It just, it depends. So you have to develop that gut based on what you know you want, and you should have some understanding of the market because you need to be analyzing why. It could take 100 if you have a super niche book, and that's okay as long as the agent's good. Please only query good agents, or a super niche book or a really broad book. There could be 100 agents for a super commercial mainstream book. There aren't 100 good agents for YA sci-fi, for example. There just are not. I will fight people on that. And so it's knowing what you write and what you want. And having, I think having trusted CPs, critique partners, really helps as well because they've read your book and you can show your rejections to them and get a feeling for what they think as well. So, yeah. Do any of you work on multiple projects? I don't. I'm a one book at a time person, so I can't really help.
I prefer the one book at a time, but I understand that that's like a skill I'll have to get better at probably if I want to be like a career author. So I'm open to it, but that's not my like ultimate state as a writer.
The rare times that I do multiple, it's only 2 ever. I don't max out. I just max out at 2, and I have to either be revising one of them and drafting another. I can't do 2 revising or 2 drafting. It has to be one or the other.
Yeah, same. And honestly, I'm just very bad at it. If I have to be revising, so like if I get an edit letter for one, I chill on drafting another. I can't live in 2 headspaces at the same time. And that's me personally. I envy authors who can. I think they're great. They're able to write more. They're able to publish more. And I'm like, you're so cool. Someday maybe I'll get there, but books live rent free in my brain for years at a time. It's unfortunate. So, this is an interesting question. Were there early signs that you were going to get a representation offer?
I was shocked when I got the email. I wasn't expecting it because I guess like with like this, the round that got me my agent, it was like a pretty successful round, I guess, because I did get enough interest that I was like, oh, this is nice. This is the best I've ever had with this book and also all my other books. I did well in PitMad. And I think the good thing about PitMad, even though I didn't sign with anybody that liked my pitches, another agent at Triada had liked my pitch. And I told her, because she seemed really enthusiastic about wanting to read it. Like she commented on the tweet too, saying like, hey, send this to me, please. So I didn't want to like ghost her because that would have been rude.
I think
Also,
you played it really smart. And actually that's good for people to hear how you handled that.
Yeah. So like and when she liked it, Elle had requested my full the day before. So I emailed this agent and I'm like, hey, by the way, well, I said, you seemed really enthusiastic about this book. I'm thrilled. I wanted to let you know that Elle requested my full the day before, and here's the query. And she's like, great. Well, me and Elle will work it out between us. And I think that maybe helped me being bumped up in Elle's reading list because on Query Tracker, since she's a newer agent, she's requesting a lot because she's trying to build her list. She's trying to find what she likes. And I'm like, well, when I saw how many other people she had requested fulls from, I'm like, I won't hear from her until like 4 or 5 months, if that. But then she read my book over Christmas. So I think that's what maybe bumped me up in her reading list because the other agent was like, if you don't like it, send it my way or something. Yeah. So I think that was so PitMad kind of was successful for me.
Well, and then it was like talking about it being a surprise. I remember we were texting because when that other agent said, oh, we'll work it out between ourselves and we'll let you know. When you got that email from Elle, you were like thinking it was going to be like, oh, well, we've decided either I'm going to read it or this other agent to read it. And then it was like, boom, a phone call. And you were like,
yeah, like rejection or a call wasn't even like the first 10 on my list of why she was emailing me.
It was so funny watching this like panic play out.
Yeah, because I was doing my day job work and I was watching the news because of the insurrection. So I was like, it was so much going on at once.
So you queried on election night and then you got an offer during a coup, attempted coup.
Yeah, and then like I accepted her offer the same week of the inauguration. So like American politics was like so lined up with my query.
So my answer. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You probably have a better answer than me.
I mean, ish.
Well, like I said, I was in a weird situation with my agent, Samantha. She was switching agencies, and she sent me an email right before Christmas. I think it was like the 20th or something, and she was just like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I still have your full, but I'm switching agencies, and I'll get back to you in January, but I really enjoyed your manuscript, and I can't wait to email you back. And I remember I sent it.
And
I was like, watch this girl. Like, she's going to reject me like January 1st. Like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you. Rejection. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, I just feel it. So I got that in.
Did I didn't tell you that was a good sign. I would have told you that was a good sign because it was a good sign.
Well, I think
she cared enough.
We were all being like, no, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
Like to play devil's advocate here because you're like, this isn't good. We're like,
I
no,
think
that looks good.
That's a good sign. So
it probably was, but at this point, like I was so used to rejection, I was like, why not? Like, so, yeah, I got that from her right before Christmas, and then I want to hop on the phone with you phone call email was very like career. Like, I want to talk to you about what my literary agency can offer you and your career, like where you see your career headed. And like when she brought that up, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more than just like we're gonna chat, maybe do an R&R, because she's not gonna mention that if we're doing an R&R. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, interesting.
I mean, then we get into the whole territory, because we've all done it, and I've helped other people with it, of analyzing emails from agents about the call, where it's always like, is it an R&R or an offer? And I feel
mine was 2 sentences.
It is this new I don't think agents do it on purpose, but I have had to try to decipher emails for multiple people now. Agents are getting more vague. Like, I'll read them sometimes and I'm like, I want to tell you this is a call, but I can't tell. And a part of me is like, I wonder if agents are doing that in case you don't click on the phone. Like, are they like trying to build themselves an out? I wish they would just be straightforward.
I know, because that 48 hours sucked.
Torture.
It was the worst. That was the worst.
I remember, because I read your email. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an offer.
I mean, I thought it was too, because, and then I was sending it to my mom, because she said I read your book and I really, really loved it. And I was like, she said really twice. So that has to mean that she wants to offer representation. Why would you really, agents, really love something if you're just going to like
tell us?
Lately, this is like going back to what we were just talking about, but Phoebe Ross left a comment and she's like, oh, I just lost it. It was like, I would like to dedicate this book to the crap storm that is the United States government. Like, can you write your like acknowledgements?
I can only look at this point, I can only look back at that whole shitstorm fondly, because like it coincided.
Okay, but like, tell me why you were the insurrection book. That was your ordeal. I was COVID. I was like literally like dying on the phone call because I couldn't breathe. And I'm like, hello, my name's Lindsay. Like, thanks for calling. Why was this such an ordeal for us? Like, we have been through enough. It would have been nice.
That's just some 2020 energy.
But I will say that, like, so like I mean, I believe in astrology a lot, and I was in my Saturn return, which is like when all the stars were in the same exact position where you were when you were born. It kind of just means like huge change, kind of like the biggest parts of your life. So like I was like depressed through most of my Saturn return, because mine was from March of 2020 to December of 2020. And in January, when I was out of my Saturn return, I got an offer. So like, but this is why I believe in fate and Lainey, the stars.
You also accomplished that killer revision during your Saturn return. So
yeah, and don't bring that energy over here, sis, because I just started my Saturn return. Get out of here.
And I don't understand any of it. So I just want to say briefly, like my one back for Brightly Burning, an agent who had my manuscript tweeted about my book. And so I knew I was going to get an offer, and I did. It's not the agent I signed with. It was a different agent. And you know what? You hear those stories and you think it's great. It just amped up my anxiety to like 8 million. And I was like, I'm being positively subtweeted, but it was still a very weird feeling. And it was weird. Advice for Hold the Bananas on taking the plunge and finding the courage to start vlogging and joining the authortube community, and how scary it is to put yourself out there. Advice.
I mean, my first few videos, I didn't want to tell anybody that I started a channel. I lived with 3 other people at the time. I was talking so quietly. It's the cringiest are my first videos. It's just bad, but I keep them up there because I'm like, people need to see that I'm so much better than this now. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like almost done with my second drink. So.
I love it. I love it.
But you just got to do it. Like I was so severely, I had a horrible self-esteem when I started my channel. And it's just, I guess like, I started on BookTube, and I felt like maybe that was just like a little bit different because I first pulled people in for like everything I liked reading. and they liked reading those things too. And then I slowly transitioned into authortube. But I think it's just like all comes down to personality, because I feel like hopefully people are watching me because they like my personality. And that they just kind of like want to see you succeed. Like that's why I subscribe to people. I have to like want to like get to know you, and like I'm also nosy as hell, so like I want to be invested in your life. So like that's why I subscribe to people.
Yeah.
I'd say like, well, first of all, accept that your early videos, you're going to be embarrassed by them later. I'm so embarrassed by my early videos, and like, cause like I still get comments on some of them and I'm like, oh no, people watch this. Oh no. But that's just part of it. So that actually means like, don't put too much pressure on yourself for those first couple of videos. Just like make them to start them and save your good shit for later. But also you don't have to be personal right out the gate. Cause I'm actually someone who doesn't, I didn't start putting myself out there in the sense of like actually talking more personally about my writing on YouTube for a while. And that might just also be because I started when advice channels were more the thing, to be fair. I think it's far more in vogue now to start with vlogging, which is inherently personal. But that beautiful thing, you literally control what you share. I don't vlog the majority of what I do. I don't actually share my breakdowns while I'm writing, which are pretty bad. I film 24 to 40 hours later with perspective, and I relay the breakdown that I had. So, which is also because I'm bad at vlogging, but you have that control, and then you can edit it out if you hate it. So just do it. Yeah.
And tags are a great place. No pressure, easy to edit, super quick. Those are a great place to start. The authortube newbie tag is a great one. What are some other tags off the top of your head you guys can think of?
I've never been a tag person.
The work in progress tag is another one.
I'm just lazy.
You can tell about your book. Things like that. Let people get to know you and your project.
But that's that. I'm also going to give you permission. I saw another question there, and it's kind of like I've lost it. Oh, it's kind of this. It's this one. Hesitant to document the writing journey on YouTube. What should I before willingly documenting my writing journey? So my response to that is you actually don't have to share anything you don't want to, because you mentioned the whip tag. That's not a tag I would usually do, because I keep things very close to the vest, and that's okay too. Everyone has a different style of how much they're comfortable sharing about what they are working on, and you just have to do whatever feels right for you. Yeah. Just a quickie one. Is it possible to schedule a Zoom because you're international? I'm pretty sure. I know my friends who are Australian Zoom their agents instead of do phone calls. So yeah, the agent might prefer to do Zoom, like a voice call, but I'm pretty sure you could do that for cost reasons. I can just throw this up quickly. I know that you guys aren't there yet, though I guess it could come. I mean, I don't think it did come up with agents for you, but have you refused a deal because you didn't agree with the alteration suggestions, which is edits? No, but I have told my agent that I wouldn't work with a particular editor because I could tell that our visions didn't align. And like, it's no big deal. Like, as long as you have other offers. If I had been in a situation where that editor was the only editor, I would have had to say no. But it does happen. Like you can realize that your visions literally don't align. I actually think it's a really good thing to like ask them what they think the heart of the book is and see what they say. And if the one thing that they don't like is the one thing that's your heart of the book, so you have to know what your heart of the book is, don't work with that person. So. How often do you interact with your editors and how long are you given for revisions? You guys can answer on the agent timeline, and then I can talk about editors if you want.
Yeah. So my agent, I mean, it's different maybe because when you're in different parts of the process. I'm on submission, so my agent gives me updates. I think weekly or monthly is when she's supposed to. I just started submissions, so we're chatting back and forth a lot right now. But yeah, we will definitely be talking, I think, monthly when we get more into like the nitty-gritty of it all. And then she has been very open about taking however much time I need to get the book as perfect as need be, because she wants to sell a book, right? So if that takes, I don't know, months instead of weeks, she's okay with that. So that's just my experience though.
Okay, so for revision, so my agent, I told her, I'm like, I like deadlines, so could you give me one? And so she's like, yeah, so my deadline for these revisions are March 9th. She gave me an extra week because I said I could do it in 2 weeks because of Pitch Wars. And she's reading their submissions. So even if I were to turn it in tomorrow, she's probably not going to be able to get to it. So she's like, let's just do March 9th for now. And then there's going to be like a week turnaround time. She's going to read my book again, make sure that she likes all the changes that I made. And then she might have like a few more things that will be like a couple days for me to like turn back to her. And then we're going on sub. So that was my timeline. But also like my edit letter wasn't very extensive. It was only 2 pages of just trying to amp up the romantic tension a lot more, which I was like totally on board with. So I agreed with all of her suggestions right away. So I didn't have a problem with the revision she gave me.
And then with editors, I've worked with 3 so far. And some of it can be guided by your preference, but the kind of like, how often do you interact part of the question? Like, I know there are some editors who are very buddy with their authors and they hold their hands a lot. Like, that sounds pejorative. It doesn't have to be. But for the most part, from what I know and observe and have experienced, they're not like critique partners, meaning you actually are not going to interact with them that much. They expect you to go off and do your job. They're always there for you if you need them for like questions, but meaning basically I interact with my editor when I get my edit letter. I like to have either phone calls but sometimes I'll have that phone call with my agent instead of my editor so that I can like basically bitch about the things I don't like with my agent instead of my editor. But so I like to have like, I did with my editor this time, like an initial kind of brainstormy, like vomiting ideas kind of call, but then I go off and I don't interact with them at all until I turn the manuscript back in and then they come back to me. So like you're not going to be touching base with your editor that often. You'll hear from them way more when it's like line edits, copy edits, communications from marketing. And how long are you given from revisions? It really varies. I can tell you for the Ivies, I was initially given a month, 5 weeks. And right out the gate, I was like, I'm going to need more. It was during the pandemic. It was the beginning of the pandemic. So that was fun. And then I worked with my editor on the extra time that I needed. So yeah. I think this is kind of a funny question. Was your YouTube audience part of the reasons you got book deals? I know that you guys don't have book deals yet. Let's hope. But I will say, like, no. I didn't have a YouTube channel when I got my first book deal, and my channel / subscriber count didn't come up until my current book deal, but that's not the reason they bought the book. But I thought it was hilarious that my editor put it in the announcement. That was not me. I was like, oh, that's adorable that you like think I'm a YouTube personality. I love you. But that's the thing. I don't think it like it matters as a gravy thing. Like publicity is like, cool, you have this thing that you do that we can work with. But because honestly, authortube just doesn't do the numbers. No one, honestly, even 100K doesn't matter. No one cares about 100K in the book industry. You have to have a lot more subscribers. You have to be a lot more famous for your YouTube channel to get you a book deal. So,
yeah, I mean, I mentioned I had a channel in my query, and like there was even a point where I'm like, should I even mention this? But the like,
I think you should mention it.
Yeah, so I kept it in there in my bio anyway. But it never came up in the call. I mean, I mentioned it offhandedly, and we didn't really talk about it at all. So it wasn't a big deal.
I say mention it because it shows engagement. Like a willingness to have a platform that can help. It can only help you in an acquisitions meeting. It just isn't going to sell your book unless your platform is massive, if that makes sense. Hold on. I'm finding more. You guys are so amazing at questions, and I love you all. Also, like, I'm drinking a lot of Prosecco.
Yeah.
This is the I love you all portion of the live stream.
Okay, I was like, okay, so I got Trulies a while ago because I'm really into hard seltzers right now. And some of the flavors were just okay, but this is the first time I've tried mango, and mango is where it's at. This is really good.
Good to know. I am going to put up this next question, and then I have to run to the kitchen for more water. So I will put this up so that y'all can answer it while I do that. 1 second. Because, Lainey, I know that you had to take this into consideration. But even if you only have one agent offer, this comes up with like who you're querying and fit. So go.
Take it away, lady.
Okay, so I had 2 offers, and it really was a really hard decision for me because, one, I'm a Libra, so like deciding between 2 people, I can't do it. So both of them felt really right. Honestly, they both were really great, and I realized that both of them I would have been happy with if they individually offered and they were my only offers. So what I ended up going with Elle from Triada. She is a newer agent. The other agent that offered was a lot more experienced in the industry, but I decided to go with Elle because I truly felt that because she has, well, it's Triada US, so great agency. Also, her mentor was the president, Uwe Stender. So that's also a plus. You have to look at who the newer agent's mentor was to gauge if they have like the relationships, the ways to get into the big 4 publishers, all of that. And I just felt like Elle was I had so much confidence in her as a newer agent that I felt like that's who I had to go with. Also because she comes from a great agency. So that was kind of my deciding factor. My heart told me Elle. See, a lot of people were saying like, trust your gut. My gut is so unreliable. I can't trust her.
She's a Libra, folks.
Yeah. So I was like, I have to decide with my heart. And my heart was like, go with Elle. So that's what I decided. Someone also asked what I'm drinking. And I'm drinking Truly. They're hard seltzers. I'm drinking mango lemonade. Yes, it's good. Cheers.
Sorry I missed that. And sorry if this is repetitive. One thing I will say with finding the right agent is the unfortunate answer is, but like this might cause more stress, but it also should hopefully take some pressure off. There's so many things you can't know until you work with an agent. And there's only so much research you can do ahead of time. And there's also only so much you can get off of a call. Gut feelings do matter for something, but also, sorry, my hair is bothering me. They're notoriously like unreliable. Sorry, it's a mess in the sense that you can have a very good call with someone like socially, like the flow can be good and the vibe can be good, but it doesn't always give you a sense of what actually working with someone is like, is what I'm meaning to say. And so don't put too much pressure on yourself to like get a magical gut feeling from a phone call. I know that doesn't help because you're like, but no. But yeah.
That's really true, especially like as someone who went through a rejected R&R, and I actually got to like test run the agent. Essentially, that's what an R&R is, a revise and resubmit. For those of you who didn't know, it's where you do revisions with an editor, an agent, and you kind of try each other out to see how it works. And the agent that I had the phone call with, it was amazing. You can watch it in my like query vlog. I talked about how we just clicked and it was wonderful. But it didn't work out. We had differences in what needed to happen for the manuscript, and maybe even a few like miscommunication things. And it wasn't meant to be. We didn't work well together, even though we probably would have been like great friends. So, you know, it's not all gut, and it's not all like the initial like, oh, we get along so well, you know. It's a business decision, so you have to look at it from a bunch of different aspects.
So I'm just catching up on questions. Oh, the chat jumped again. I love it when it does that. Oh, here's another tag recommendation. Great Fries tag. Tags are great. We love tags.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. My thing with my early videos, and like this is why I like just make an allowance for yourself. It took me ages to figure out filming location, angle, and lighting. And in the early ones, I was just kind of like you, Lainey. Even though I live alone, I was a little quiet and like just unsure of myself and a little stiff. And I've gotten the stray comment on my earliest videos like, you're stop reading from a script. This is really awkward. I'm like, LOL, I'm not reading from a script. I'm just awkward. But it does come with time and practice. Like, well, I should say, the good channels get more comfortable in front of the camera. And I will say, like, the one like thing with YouTube is if you can't get comfortable in front of the camera, that is going to be a problem long term. But you can only figure out if you can do it by doing it. And just kind of loosening up. This is an interesting question. Okay. How much do you all think about branding / future books? Because you are in the situation now of like, you get to think about that.
Listen, I've been crafting this now for like 2 years. Yeah, I completely, so on my channels, on my Twitter, on my Instagram, I have now completely rebranded to like a similar theme. And I mean, I've been kind of doing this like romance thing now for the past few years. So that's what I hope people will associate my brand with, is fantasy romance. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. And like, I started, even like just on Instagram, I started using the same filter 2 years ago with the expectation of this very moment right here. Yeah. I mean, I wish I was better at branding, because I think there's some authors that do it very well, and it's like top tier A+ branding. But hopefully I will get there. I just need to get a book deal first.
Yeah, and I will say like we all do it. I did it pretty aggressively in the pre-agent, pre-book deal phase, but also like give yourself the allowance, like do it because you enjoy it. And I did enjoy it, and it is fun to like think about, crafting my brand. But also like you can't really do anything until you get a book deal. But then even once you get a book deal, you allow yourself to go with the flow. I didn't think I was going to become a thriller writer. Whoops. But it's good. What I love about that, I think people get really stressed with publishing. And in fairness, they get stressed with publishing because publishing can put you into a box. They have a habit of doing that, partly because they love aggressively creating brands. But it's more flexible than you think. And it is definitely possible to make career pivots. And future books, gosh, the books I thought I was going to build my career on when I signed with my first agent, I think my journey is hilarious. It has not gone the way I thought, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I think about it a lot, maybe too much, where I'm just like trying to like organize all of the books I'm going to write for the next like 12 years. And I'm like, I have a book deal, like slow down. So yeah, I definitely think about it a lot. And I mean, it's like real now, right? Like it actually matters. Whereas before it was just like playtime, imagination. And now it's like, oh, this is real. Like I better start thinking about this. And the next book I write, like, let's make sure it echoes the brand that I want or whatever.
Yeah. You do have to, once you sell a book, especially, you do have to become more calculated in terms of the practical writing choices you make, or at least I think you should become more calculated. And I mean, everyone's different, but I don't regret like kind of like with my second book, like I really thought about it, and I had a conversation with my editor and with critique partners of like, what will if people read my first book, because I didn't know what would they want to read next, and like very seriously taking that into consideration, like I think helped. Yeah, and then I decided to do a total 180. It's fine.
It worked out.
It worked out. Some of my, if I have fans, some of them will be shocked, and others will be like, "Oh, she got way better." I love thrillers; they're great. Sorry. We have some more questions about agents. Warning signs to look for in choosing an agent. So things that you guys considered in your research and your querying and whatnot.
So I really think it helps having someone who's a little bit further in the journey than you are, because when I look back at the agents that I queried in 2016, I mean, there were some good ones that are still agenting, they're still selling, but I would say the majority of them are either no longer agenting, they are kind of mediocre, or they don't have really good sales still. So it just, and like back then, it's hard to like kind of say this, because like 2016, I didn't have any friends that had agents. And it wasn't until 2019 when I queried that I was friends with you, Alexa. And it's just so much
Plus
easier.
Plus with author mentor match.
Yeah, and author mentor match too. Like to have a community that's like, no, that's not a good agency.
Yeah.
And there's like no way of knowing unless you have someone that tells you this.
Yeah. Tells you, but also you demonstrated the inconvenient advice that I also give. It's a wait and see. Sometimes it is just being in the trenches, not always literally in the trenches, but working on your books and querying and keeping your eye on agents over a period of years. And so that's why, like, I mean, don't hyper focus so much on querying that you don't write your book, but it's not a bad thing to get into the community as early as possible and have agents on your radar. Because I'm the same. There were people that I was really excited about in 2013, and by the time I was querying the second time in 2016, I was like, well, they're clearly a schmagent. And by 2021, I can tell you they're definitely schmagents. Like some of them I'm shocked are still around, but a lot of them are gone. And you can literally only learn that with time. You have to wait and see. And it's something also that people ask all the time, you know, and what I say to them is with new agencies that might have yellow flags, someone has to be their guinea pig client, and your question has to be, do you want it to be you? And typically when I'm advising friends and mentees, I say, I would rather it not be you because I care about you. And so that is the advice I'm giving you. Let someone else be the guinea pig. Query more sure thing agents. But you always have to balance that question for yourself. Yeah.
I guess, like, I mean, I feel like there's people out there being like, I don't have any friends that are so like, what do you do? And I feel like, I don't know, you have to like look to see who their clients are. Is that client having books that are being published by publishing
who you want to be published by?
Yeah. And like I never got Publishers Marketplace, mainly because you had one and you were able to look up things for
Find
me.
a me but, like, in your life.
But I also would just like look at their free page. Sometimes those agents don't update it, but some like I feel like the majority of them kind of do. At least the ones like I was querying, there's only maybe a small handful that didn't have an updated Publishers Marketplace free page. But a lot of them like do. So I was able to like see like, okay, so they've been selling to XYZ. This seems reputable. Yeah, it's kind of hard though to like, it takes time.
Yeah, it does. But that is why I think the community is so invaluable. Make friends, get on Twitter. That's where it's popping. Get on YouTube if you like that platform. Even Instagram is a good place because I really feel like the Whisper Network is like, that's where you get the goods, and not just like juicy stuff that entertains you, but like the stuff that'll save your career. So, you
Just
know,
practical advice, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, Publishers Marketplace, I would say, would be a good one. By the way, Alexa, do you still have your Publishers Marketplace?
I do. I can help you.
Okay.
I love looking stuff up on Publishers Marketplace. And like it is kind of a double-edged sword because like I generally don't recommend people subscribe for a full year when they're querying because I think it's really unfair, the idea that you should drop $275 a year on something, but once you are published it can be something worth investing in. And that's why, like, since I got that's when I subscribed, when I got my first book deal, and now I just let it renew so I can help other people, but also because I am nosy. I love looking up agents and deals, and just I like poking around like and seeing trends. But that's me. And actually we have this question, subscribing to Publishers Weekly and how to use it to your advantage. My question is, do you mean Publishers Weekly or do you mean Publishers Marketplace? Because they are different, and I probably wouldn't have recommended subscribing to Publishers Weekly specifically. If you mean PM, I actually have an entire video on how to use PM. Publishers Weekly, like, it's not bad to subscribe to that magazine. I would just say read it, but the deal announcements are actually free. I read the deal announcements. I know Lainey does too. We get the email.
Yeah.
And we read it it comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. So I would just like read the articles, at least the one for the children's deals. So let's say if you mean Publishers Weekly, that's what I would say. If you mean Publishers Marketplace, my advice on how to use Publishers Marketplace to your advantage, if you subscribe, like let's say you subscribe for 1 month, which would be $25 before querying, basically use that to form your research and like use that month to your advantage. I have a whole video on it. Check it out. You should be looking up agents, really look at their deals. That it means click on the publisher, follow the tree on Publishers Marketplace, or use Google to figure out, is this an imprint of a major publisher? Is it a Christian publisher? Like, their Christian imprints are different ones. So like understand what the publishers are. Look for things like digital deals instead of basically digital means it's not going to be printed in hardcover or paperback and distributed to bookstores. Look up their titles, their sales, look for trends. Because that's how like you really can determine decide whether you want to be sold to those places. And like, that's what really tells you what an agent, where their connections are and their relationships.
Yeah, if you do write Kidlit, I do suggest that newsletter because I learned about so many agents, and you can like
I used it for
consistently
years.
Yeah, for like Tuesdays, Thursdays, for weeks and weeks and weeks, you will see the same agents popping up.
And editors, and imprints. That's how back in the day people asked, like, you know, I'm weird and I really like knowledge, so I just started absorbing like a sponge. But it was Publishers Weekly, the children's deal announcements. I just noticed trends. Oh, that imprint is in a lot of these. Let's look at their list. What's their season? And I paid attention to cover reveals, and it's this, you get a sense of things. And so that's why when you ask an agent on a call, which I advise, about their sub plan, you should have an idea of what the good places to be subbed are. You should know what the publishers are, and what you want. So this is a super fun topic. I just filmed a very rambly video about this the other day that needs a lot of editing. I was not focused. So meaning this is interesting to talk about because this has been a topic on Twitter, which is why I made a video, which is it a deal breaker if you don't want to do social media? And I'll say this is tough because all three of us do social media. So I think that's going to color our responses to this. It can be a deal breaker if you won't do it once they sign you or give you a book deal. It's less of a deal breaker before, but if you refuse after, then it can become a deal breaker. In my experience. Do you guys have thoughts?
I mean, it's hard for me because I already had a sort of following prior to pursuing publication. So like the people who follow me on my platforms, they've always been following me. So I don't have like I've never not had that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard for me to say that.
And this was the secondary question. Do publishers and agents consider your social media platform when they're making decisions to publish your book? Well, agents aren't deciding to publish your book. They're deciding to represent you. Social media can impact their decision. A robust platform is always going to be a plus. Not having one, it might deter some agents. Basically, what agents want to see is just that you are willing to do some social media in some measure. It doesn't have to be all the time. And not having any at all, I think it's only going to like be a problem if you refuse later, as I said. Publishers, yes, it is 100% going to come up in an acquisitions meeting. And it could be the thing that sways in someone's favor. I don't know if it'll be the thing that goes against them. Like I said, it's if you refuse after you have a book deal that you might not get more book deals from that publisher. And I know that that's awful to hear, but it doesn't mean you have to bleed on Twitter. Don't worry. But it means you might have to set one up so that it exists, so that it has a bio that has your links, because that's where people are going to look for you. And once a month you retweet something. It doesn't, like, you see people go all the way. It doesn't have to be that. It could be you have an Instagram and you post a photo once a month and sometimes use your stories. That's fine. You don't have to be like a social media all-star to have, like, they just want to see you do something, because nothing is no longer an option, in my personal opinion. But I hate how much is demanded of authors on social media. I actively dislike it. I think it's too much. So your fears are founded, but that's my opinion. But it's also tough because all of us do social media. So I feel like we're all kind of like, we've made the sacrifices and we've made the choices. Especially, I feel like YouTube is the next level. If you're willing to be on YouTube, you've accepted the price of this. But I personally find YouTube the easiest, in the sense that, I mean, it's the most work technically, but I actually think it has the most boundaries. And I feel the safest on YouTube, weirdly. It doesn't drain my energy the way that I find Instagram and Twitter do. And that might be me personally. And I think that surprises people.
Twitter's the worst.
Twitter burns me out.
That's my least favorite platform.
So it exists so that I can make updates, but I am on it less and less and less and less because it hurts me inside. So, yeah. If you feel that way too, welcome. I think everyone feels that way. I think we all feel that way about Twitter. All of us. Even the people who like Twitter feel that way about Twitter.
I feel like YouTube and even Instagram, because I feel like that's more of like, this is my space and people are coming into my space.
Yes. My
space, like not my space, but but like on Twitter, you're just like, it's a big old pool and everybody's in it. And and that's why it's just. That's
actually a really good point, Lainey. Like, describing it that way, you're right. And I didn't say, maybe I should refilm my video. Oh no, but my makeup looked really cute. Oh no. Oh, sorry. These are just authortube thoughts where you're like, wow, I rambled for 50 minutes. How the heck am I going to cut that down and sound coherent? Sometimes the answer is you refilm, especially when your friend Lainey says something very, very smart that didn't occur to you. I think that is why Twitter feels different. Yeah. It's like a marketplace that you have to play in instead of having your own cultivated space. Yeah. I can say this briefly. We are annual, so it is every winter, basically. It's like every January, approximately, because I otherwise literally cannot handle it because of how much work it is. So we used to be twice a year, and I just can't handle it anymore. So unfortunately, like, it's a long time, but we kind of purposefully, like, Pitch Wars is in the summer submissions, and then we're in the winter, and that's very intentional. So there's always an opportunity for you to pursue, depending on what time of the year it is. Sorry, the chat jumped again.
Would you consider being a mentor, Lindsay, for Author Match?
I was thinking about that like the other day, and I even been to like text you, Lainey. I was like, we need to talk about this. I guess we're gonna talk about it here live. Yeah, like I kind of like would like to dip my toes in. First of all, I want to make sure I can handle it, like health wise and stuff like that. But like, yeah.
I'm like half scared I'd be a bad mentor though.
You won't. Also, because like I won't let you be. No, that sounds really pedantic. I'm actually very chill. But no, because we're so community based. I mean, you know, because you guys are mentees. Like, because I have like the separate Slack for the mentees, like mentors are never on their own when it comes to everything. So everyone comes to me for Publishers Marketplace information. So I love it. I love it so much. Well, here's a classic that might be fun to answer. What made all of us decide on traditional versus self-publishing?
I'm the rogue.
That took me yeah. I mean, that's legit. I firmly believe that no one should be held back from pursuing publishing. Pursuing, that doesn't mean you will be handed book deals, but from pursuing it for free, which is why I have this channel. I really personally chafe against having to pay for conferences, having to pay for courses, having to pay for book coaches and editors. I didn't do any of that. I pursue traditional publishing with $0, and that's how it should be. That's the beauty of the internet, because it is true. Publishing for a very long time was the dominion of the privileged and wealthy, and I don't think that's how it should be. That's just me on my soapbox. That's why I do this for free, because like it's why I do AMM. I'm like, genuinely, this should be available to people for free. Other reasons? I mean, I have plenty, but I talk too much.
I feel like I'm too tipsy to answer this question.
We probably all have the same reasons. I mean, we're friends with each other. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I haven't always wanted to be a writer. I didn't start writing until like I was 14 on the glamorous side of Neopets. And like I always knew I wanted to tell stories because like I did ballet for so long. And I love telling stories that way. And then I wanted to be a singer. Then I found out that I couldn't sing. So that was out of the way.
Me and acting. And
tried
singing.
to be a fashion. Then I was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I can't sew.
Yeah.
So I finally landed into writing. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. So I guess like, it's just like, I know that people are very successful with self-publishing, and I commend them. I read so many self-publishing romance novels because, like, self-publishing romance is hot. It's like, that's where it's at in romance.
I wish I could write that fast, like, genuinely.
I know. My favorite author is Katie Robert. She writes, like, 6 indie books a year. So, like, how?
Yeah. I respect the game. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, I just really want to be traditionally published. Also because of the money thing, but also the book deal. Like that's just like the goal, I feel like, growing up, kind of.
Yeah. No, it's all of it.
Yeah.
I'm slow as hell.
Yeah. I do.
But also we write kidlit. And if you're pursuing kidlit, it's traditional or bust 95% of the time. The system's just stacked against self-publishing in our arena. In large part because, and I know this is like mind-blowing, kidlit still, by and large, physical books, bookstores, they still work in that space. And so you just have to know your market. It really is market specific, but romance is a whole other ballgame. If I were writing romance, I would make different choices. So. Yeah. But also I really want other people to do business things for me. Honestly. I love having an agent, like a smart person who does things for me. Like, yeah. I mean, with me. She does them with me. That makes it, we work together. But I'm like, you're the smart person who does contract shit. And I love that the publisher registers your copyright and gets you an ISBN and does all that like, I am so bad at that nitty-gritty stuff in my regular adult life. She says procrastinating on doing her tax stuff right now that I can't even fathom having to do all of that for my book career. I think I would fail at it, honestly.
And also, like, I know a lot of people say, like, they don't want to give up control, and that's, like, kind of why they self-publish. Like, I have no problem. Take the wheel. Like,
Jesus, take the wheel. Publisher, take the wheel. Yeah. I love collaborative processes personally.
Same.
And I think that's because I'm from fandom. I'm like, I love collaborating with an editor. I'm just not precious. I mean, I'm precious about my work and in like key ways that are important. You should have confidence in your work and you should know what matters. But I love hearing from someone else. Like, some of the things I love the most in the Ivy specifically were my editor's idea. And I love that. Like, and I love the magic of the creative process, the things that whether it's critique partners, your agent, or your editor, the things that never would have come to be if you hadn't shared it with another person. I love that. And you can cultivate that in self-publishing, but I like the mechanisms of traditional publishing. Yeah.
I also thirst for approval. So it's really nice having that little stamp of like, you are good enough.
No, and no lie, that's a factor. I have talked about it in videos. Like, it's sad but true. Like, I've literally been at events and you see the light die in their eyes when you don't say the name of a big 5 publisher. And that's just snobbery and traditional publishing. Still a real book deal, still a major publisher, but they lose interest. And now when I say Random House, it is different. It's different on YouTube. Like, people take me more seriously and I'm like, we have some problems we should work on. But it's true.
No pressure for us.
No pressure. Well, but, it's not a good thing. I loved my publisher. Ew.
Oh yeah. Like there's great publishers that aren't Big 4. It's silly.
Oh no, it's Big 4 now. Oh
Yeah.
no, you reminded me. I'm so
I
sorry.
still want to say Big 5. It just sounds
I
better.
still say it. It's, well, in fairness, I don't think the merger's complete with Simon & Schuster, so it is technically still the Big 5. Simon & Schuster is still an independent entity for now. Yeah. I'm going to find another question. Oh, here we are. YouTube. Do we film on our phones or do we have separate cameras, and what do we use?
I have a camera, a Canon. But that was an investment that I made after I knew I was going to be serious about it. So you don't have to start. Like, phones are great nowadays. Just get a tripod for your phone and put it in there.
Here's mine. And I spent a lot of money on this mic, and I have no regrets. But I used the cheap mic for 3 years. This is a T6i. So the pro tip, if you do go Canon DSLR, not all of them do video that will take an external mic. So that's why I got the T6 line. I think they're up to T8 or 9 now. But just beware of that. Not all Canon DSLRs are good for YouTube. Do your research. I did a lot of research on this, and I bought it on a Black Friday bundle deal for, I think, $700. And it came with my original mic, which died recently. And so I spent $300 on this, and it was painful. But sadly, my audio quality is so much better now. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's me. But I filmed on my Pixel for the first year of my channel.
So I have a little bit of a differing opinion about all this.
We love a difference of opinion.
So, okay, I'm going to be honest. And I know phones can film this way, but you need to film in 1080p. You can't do webcam anymore. Like, that's something that could have worked on YouTube in 2013 or earlier. But I feel like YouTube is such a visual platform where the quality needs to look appealing for the people that are going to invest time in watch you. So I don't know. I feel like some people are like, just film with anything. Just like, well, no, I don't think that's the case anymore. And I don't want to like break any hearts, but it needs to be 1080p or no less.
Standard.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish it wasn't, but I feel like it is. So, I have a, what do I have? I have a Sony A something, A5100. And this was also an investment, and I didn't get it until like 2016. So I did just a really bad camcorder in my earlier videos I stole from my parents' house. But then
that's old school, lady.
Oh, it was like a sleek camcorder, not something that was like up here. But this was like a vlogging camera. That's why I never really got like the Canons, because I know that was really popular. I went with the Sony because I mostly do vlogs. That's like basically my entire channel.
And that is smart, like knowing, because it does make a difference. Exactly. I can't vlog with this.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I couldn't before the pandemic. I vlog with this now because in the pandemic, I'm just setting up a tripod in my house because I don't leave. But prior to that, I continue to vlog on my phone. So my phone is my vlog camera when I leave, but I don't
Mine's
leave
on a
now.
tripod right now because I was filming. I'm filming
any hot topics, Lainey, or was it your vlog?
It's a vlog. When do I do sit down videos?
You could. I don't know.
Could. But yeah, this is small. It fits in my purse when I go to events back pre-pandemic. And I also like selfishly, aesthetically, really liked how big the lens was. So that was also why I got this. But yeah, I've had it now for 5 years. Never had a problem with it. It does overheat a little bit faster than I would like sometimes when I'm filming like 30-minute videos, but since I don't do a lot of sit-down videos, it doesn't bother me.
One thing I will say, practically, just kind of building off of that, because I know it's kind of overwhelming to hear, like, well, you're right about 1080p. So if you have a 1080p camera, and most current model smartphones are, so you already have what you need if you have a current model smartphone, and you can buy tripods for your phone. That's what I did. I bought like a attachment, and then I bought an Amazon Basics tripod. I still use that Amazon Basics tripod. No regrets. It's like $20.
Tripod.
It's a good tripod. Although now I have in the corner, I have a mini, I bought a mini version for my vlogging because it's easier to vlog with a smaller one. But like, don't like go out and buy an expensive camera to start your channel. I would make sure that you know that you're like all in and that you actually enjoy this before you invest money. I waited a year and almost 6 months. That was also just financial. This is one of my book deal purchases, the camera. It was one of my treat yourself, you got a book deal things, but I still waited over a year. So, because payment schedules, I got some of my payments in 2017, but I basically used my like, your book was published, here's a chunk of your advance money to buy this. But I also made sure that I was fully committed to YouTube. So start with your phone. If you don't have a smartphone, you can buy 1080p webcams, and that is what I would do. I'm using one right now. It is from Logitech. They're different ones, but that would be my advice. Like, get a 1080p webcam if you can't use your phone. Because unless you have like a fancy Mac that has a built-in very good webcam, but for the most part they don't, at least non-Macs. Because I do agree with Lainey. You're starting out quality. It doesn't have to be the most amazing quality in the world, but it can make a difference for your channel getting off the ground. Oh, and audio quality is more important than you realize. Yeah, that's my soapbox. Oh, this is funny. What do you do with Publishers Marketplace? I have a video on it, which I literally screen share, and I show you how I use Publishers Marketplace. Use it to look up agents and book deals. Like, get curious. Like, think about books that are like yours and look them up and see who sold them. Ooh, it's fun. Critique partners. Where do you find them?
Oh, man. This is a topic.
There's a lot of trial and error, but you can find them on the hashtag CP Matchup on Twitter. Right on Con, is it still available right now? I think until tomorrow?
I think it might be for a little longer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole CP match on there. What is the newsletter Amanda Foodie and her gang does? Because they do a critique partner matchup. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but it's out of my brain. It's the name of it is just gone.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, which doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. Writing. Yeah. Well, anyway,
we'll figure it out.
Roundup. Something cul-de-sac. Ryder Street. It has something to do with like a direction of a road. Anyway, there's lots of resources out there. You could probably Google it and it would like bring you to like a whole bunch of different meetup places.
Yeah.
Facebook.
And then,
I found my first critique partner on Facebook, like a Facebook writing group or something.
Join the communities for Pitch Wars, Author Mentor Match, because you'll find people there as well.
Yeah.
Fellow aspiring writers.
There's also a lot of writer chats on Twitter, I've noticed.
Yeah.
There's like WIQ chat, which is Writers in Quarantine chat that came up during the pandemic. Spring Rush is going on right now. You can meet people that way. Those are the only ones I can think of. But yeah, Pitch Wars and I feel like Author Mentor Match, like those are like the prime times to like find people. I found one of my critique partners through Pitch Wars, even though neither of us got in. So
YouTube as well, because we're here. We've all found, new writer connections through authortube as well. So
yeah. Writer's Block Party.
There you go.
That is the name. That's like a little newsletter you can sign up for. And I think they do quarterly critique partner matchups. So you just like respond to their newsletter and with a little pitch of your book and you can find people that way. So
nice. This is an interesting one. Is hybrid publishing something we're still considering? Because I know I have at points set on my channel that it's something I would consider.
Not at this current time for me, but never say never, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
So if I were to, obviously I would do smutty romances, but then I would have to get a pen name to keep it separate. But then I also wouldn't want people to know that I'm writing smutty romances. I just don't have the bandwidth to create a whole other brand, a persona, basically, to craft that platform. So no, not right now.
Yeah, my thoughts and plans keep getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off because I am still not a fast enough writer to manage more than a book a year, and that book is going to be traditionally published until they don't want me anymore. So if I ever am able to write faster, write more, then yes, because same idea as Lainey. It would be romance for me, probably. And oh God, even just thinking of having to create a whole other brand for myself is very exhausting. So that's going to be a later problem. That's where I'll leave that. All right. Oops, sorry, my cat is demanding pets. He's right here. Thank you. You can't see him. There's his tail. Oh, this is cute. You guys can help with that one. How do you not freak out when sending a query letter?
You're asking the wrong audience.
I mean, every single one I sent, I still like triple checked everything before I actually yeeted it out into the internet. Because it's like, you got to make sure you got the agent's name right. You got to make sure that you like put in the correct amount of pages below the query letter. Got to make sure, like, I don't know if you did this, Lindsay, but I didn't personalize every agent that I queried. I only personalized them when I felt like it would benefit me more.
And you did that probably because I gave you that advice because that's what I did.
Yeah, like with L, I didn't personalize L's. I just did. Yeah. Just sent it out.
I think writers, we stress ourselves out more than it's worth on personalization. Yeah. Get writer friends would be my advice, because like freak out to them. You should freaking out's fine. Just freak out to your friends. They'll support you.
Yeah.
Have a group chat. I love this question because Lainey, you and I have day jobs. Are our day job employers supportive of our writing careers? Does your employer know?
No, they don't. And I feel like I won't tell them unless someone approaches me about it. So,
yeah.
But my first boss did know I had a YouTube channel because I was so desperate to get a job at this company because I admired them for a very long time that like I was like, I'm just throwing everything out to him about why I want this job. And it just came out in a word vomit that I had a YouTube channel. He ended up really digging it. I don't know if he ever looked me up or anything, but I did get hired. But he's now gone from the company, so I feel like no one else knows.
Yeah, my job is very supportive. I do work in the media, which helps. Like I'm in the television industry. Everyone has like so many people have side hustles here. I think it's very accepted and normalized. If I work somewhere else, I don't know how transparent I would be, but also I'm in a very weird situation where not only do I work in the industry, the media industry, I work for, it's basically a small company that's part of a major media conglomerate. Like, so the division I work for was its own separate company started by honestly people who are far too nice to work in the corporate industry, yet somehow they do. The guy who created our company was from Colorado, just like very salt of the earth, but meaning it's a small division. We're like family, and everyone who works at my company is a lifer. I just hit my 10-year, and I am like most people at my company have worked there for 20 years. So meaning everyone cares about each other, supports work-life balance. And so it didn't freak them out when I told them. Well, my boss kind of knew, but like when I got a book deal, I was like, I have to tell them, like they're going to notice. So I did. And so
I don't think I'm going to tell them. If I get a book deal, I don't think I'm going to tell them.
If you do, here's my advice for that. Because the one thing that I did do is that I sat them down and I explained publishing advances to them. And I basically said, look, I am not quitting my job. Don't assume that. You can't get rid of me, because the first thing that pops into people's minds, the average Joe who watches way too much TV, is, oh, my employee, what they really care about is writing. They've got one foot out the door. And so you need to be like, no, I can't. I literally won't be able to feed myself. I love this job. I value this job. So I made that very clear. And I try to almost never bring it up. I try to really keep them separate so they know. But I don't bring it up. They might bring it up and like ask me how it's going, but I don't bring it up. So
I don't think the company I work for would even care that like, because I mean, I work for a college prep testing company. I mean, I feel weird saying it, but you might know. You some of you guys might. I mean, I do. With this company, but they're very. I mean, they're in the know about like stuff like that. It's educational.
Yeah.
Well, my 9-to-5 is not supportive.
All right. And we're going on 2+ hours, so I feel like we can kind of wrap it up soon-ish. This is a good quick question. Is it a red flag if an agent or agency isn't listed on Publishers Marketplace? It can be, but it's not an automatic red flag. I'm kind of like, why wouldn't they report to Publishers Marketplace? It's only in their best interest to do so. And what's very funny is I did check, and my current book deal is not on PM yet, which is kind of hilarious. I'm gonna text my agent. I'm like, because my editor submitted my deal to PW, so I think that's why. I digress. But it depends. If you can't find any evidence that they have sales, then yes, it's a red flag. They might not be on there because they're hiding something. Were there agencies or agents that you guys couldn't find on PM, etc.?
Me? Us?
Anyone, yeah. I'm looking.
I mean,
for...
I did most of mine through Query Tracker. I did all of it through Query Tracker. I really recommend that site. And I also recommend getting the premium because you get access to different reports like response times. It's all user-based in input, so it's not like but you just rely on everybody inputting their own query to that agent so that you can get an idea of different stuff like that. So
this is interesting, and I know that y'all are in the beginning stages. How do you form a bond with your agent? Like, so I guess we'll frame that as like, I can jump in later, but how are you guys approaching the first parts, the first stages of your relationships with your agents?
Well, I feel really awkward, if I'm being honest.
That doesn't go away for a long time, honestly.
Like, we follow each other on Instagram, we follow each other on Twitter, and like, she always watches my stories, and sometimes I'll comment on like one of her stories. But I feel also like bad. I just always feel like I am taking up time of hers. But that's just like me naturally. I feel that way about critique partners. That's why I hate like giving my work to people, because I'm like, y'all are wasting your time reading my stuff, and I feel bad about it.
That won't go away, honestly.
That's my Libra sun coming in.
Like with my editor, I'm like, I apologize to her for my proposal. It's like, I'm sorry you had to read that. Yeah, I have to work on my self-esteem, although it is a mess. I'm in the weeds on this book. I'm in such a dark place. I'm like, it's all garbage. Why did I think I could write this? But that, so yeah, writer life. I'll say that it takes time. You can't rush it. And you're gonna feel like, Lainey, that's normal. You're gonna feel like that for a while. I didn't like, you have to go through things together, you know? Like my agent and I, like it was selling the first book that it was like Forged in Fire kind of thing. But even beyond that, it was a while before I started texting her. And that's when like we really bonded. But you bond by going through stuff. So like we bonded through me being rejected at acquisitions. We bonded through that happening and then having to revise the book to sell it. Like I still love it was either a call or an email, but I'll always remember she said, I'm on a mission of vengeance to sell this book. And like that helped forge a bond with us. It's when I lost my first editor, like that was something that we went through together, where my agent was the one who supported me through that. And so you just have to go through stuff basically together. And yeah, but now like I'm almost 5 years in, and like I would take a bullet for her. So as ever, I stan her so hard, it's probably uncomfortable for her. So yeah, like I love her. She's good at she's good at her job basically. And that's how it should be for everyone, but not everyone is. She's good at her job and she's nice. What else do you need? So yeah. What else? How do we want to like end this? Final thoughts.
Someone asked a question about first few chapters of a manuscript when querying. How important are they?
There. That's a good yes. Do we have thoughts on this?
I mean, I changed my pages for pacing. My first few chapters were vastly changed between the first bout of querying and the second round that got me my agent. It's still largely the same, but it's pacing wise, it's better. And but I guess it's like, it just depends like kind of what an agent thinks. There could have been plenty of agents that thought these pages are slow. When I was talking to Elle, she said, I don't know how true this is, but she said in the first 10 pages of reading my book, she knew she was going to want to represent me. And I was like, okay, because I don't know how I feel about those first 10 pages. But no, we didn't change any of the beginning at all during my revisions either. But I think it's important. You want them to keep reading. But I think I failed because I rushed it too much. Because I was like, got to get to the action, got to get to the good inciting incident in these first few chapters, so the agent wants to keep reading. And the second time around I did it, I let it cool a little bit. I let the manuscript breathe, in a sense, with the pacing, that I had a better request rate, even though I didn't get to like the juicy part until four chapters in. So I don't know. Yeah. It's weird.
Well, but also because I just know, because I helped you with your opening chapters, you also did a line level pass. Like you like really like narrowed in, and like I really enjoyed that edit, like helping you edit that. That was fun for me. I enjoy it too much. It's bad. But meaning you focused on the line level, like if I have a different word choice here, like how is that going to impact it? And so like they're definitely important in the sense of they're inevitably going to be the most edited piece of your manuscript. We inevitably edit the beginning more than any other part. So it's definitely important in the sense that it should be very polished. Like, but also I would say, as important as they are, the most important thing with an agent is that the rest of the manuscript holds up. That is more important than anything else, because the classic, and like I've seen it as like a mentor and author mentor match, like because we see essentially a mirror of what agents see, and agents talk about it too, where the partial is essentially beautifully polished, and then it's like the book falls off a cliff. And so it's actually more important that doesn't happen. That is the difference between getting an agent offer and not getting an agent offer. Beyond taste. You can write a really solid book and it still might work taste wise, but like you don't want to have your book fall off a cliff. But that said, it's absolutely true. Like you have to hook them or they're not going to even finish the partial. So. Sorry, reading is so entertaining. You all love it, watching me read comments. Let's wrap up. Let me think. What do I want to ask? Like, what's a like beautiful Zen ending point for this discussion? We made it. We're here. I'm just so happy for you.
Well, I have one. What are we going to be celebrating in 5 years when we do this again?
Oh
God, I feel so vulnerable because like if I say what I'm really thinking,
like, are we doing pipe dreams here?
Yeah,
or are we doing like realistic goals?
Because honestly, the realistic goals for me would be like somehow she's still here. Like somehow people are still buying her books would be me in 5 years, because I'll be 10 years deep in 5 years. You guys in 5 years will be me. Like, so meaning you guys will be several books deep is where you'll be in 5 years for sure. But pie in the sky, like I would love to be celebrating maybe being a full-time author, because if that were happening, I'd be making so much money that I wouldn't weep over Cobra prices for health insurance, which would mean I would be rich, and that would be great. Because otherwise I will still have a day job.
Someone said the Thriller movie deal for the Ivies. It's coming out.
Oh God, I would hope if it happened, it would happen sooner. But yes, and like another pie in the sky, like I would love in 5 years to be like, I have a best-selling book. It'll probably be an adult book, but that would be very cool. Yeah.
Lainey?
Also, like, please buy my book, Hollywood.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. We're gonna be celebrating the 2nd season of the show that my book got turned into. Exactly. Yes. Like, I hope the Ivies has already premiered on Netflix. I don't have a Netflix deal, but I would like one. I'll take the CW. I don't care.
Oh, I would take the CW. Are you kidding? Like 100%.
I would take Freeform.
I mean, I'm even like, I would take IMDb TV at this point. Like, Alex Rider was good. I don't know if y'all watched it. Isn't that what it's called? Alex Rider? It was pretty good. You should watch it. Do y'all not know Alex? Isn't that what it's called? Stormbreaker. Come on.
I'm not hip. I don't know.
Yes.
But
okay. Alex Rider. It's based on a UK spy boy book series. and it was pretty good, and the guy is attractive and legally of age, so I'm allowed to say that. But it was a good show. I liked it. Anyway, you just know all my taste now. I'm still
Miranda
upset
said
over
put it out into the universe, and I'm just like, yeah, let's manifest this.
Manifest.
I got my woo manifestation bag right here on my fridge.
Oh, Lindsay, I got your crystals that you gave me for NaNoWriMo.
Hi.
Manifest.
Okay.
And yesterday was the moon.
From an industry, I mean, you live in LA. I don't think let's see what Hulu does strategically in terms of their next phase, because once NBC and NBC is gone, not ABC, like, we're going to see Hulu changing. So let's actually see what Hulu's strategy is, because it's definitely changed since the Disney majority acquisition. That's just like some shop top for you, because NBC is going to pull all of its content. Anyway, I digress. I'm not sure where Hulu's going. So that y'all are like, I don't care about any of this. I'm like, I know. It's an industry thing. Disney ruined everything is all you need to know. It's their fault.
I was just about to say, like, Disney will be opening my ride based off,
manifest it.
That's what we're getting. It'll be like right beside the like Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So like every time he comes to Disney World, she'll just be like, "Oh yeah!" Like,
I wouldn't want to ride because
he's gonna be a Disney princess in this manifestation.
Nice. Oh yeah,
this is fun.
Let's manifest goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll just take still being here. That's what I will take. Still publishing in 5 years. I'll take it.
Lindsay, your book would be such a cute animated movie. I just realized.
Whenever I see, like, if someone wanted to adapt, I always see it in like cartoon animated. Yeah. I would die.
Manifest it. I want a limited series on a major streaming platform is what I want. That's what I want.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I see my book as a TV show too. I don't see it as a movie.
I see it as a TV show.
Yeah.
My next one too. Oh gosh, like I'm fine.
Love this for us.
Manifest it.
Can't wait to watch this back in 5 years when we're rich and famous.
Oh God, no, we'll be too embarrassed. I'm embarrassed about things I did a year ago. Like, it never stops. Like, every once in a while, I'll look at like old thumbnails, or people will comment on videos, and I'm like, ooh, that wasn't a good eye look. Ooh, no.
I look back at some of my old videos and I'm like, how did I do my makeup? Because it's looking so fresh back then.
Oh, that's definitely not me, because I've improved
Same with my
mightily.
hair too. I also think like, oh, my hair is really good that day.
Looked at one yesterday because I was redoing the thumb, and I was like, ooh, I'm glad you decided not to try to go back to your natural hair color. There was a period in 2018 when I was trying to go blonde, like dirty blonde, which is technically my natural hair color. Not cute. I'm going to be red till I die. Just cost money. It's fine. Lainey, you're blessed. You're blessed, and I'm jealous.
Oh, my red hair.
Your beautiful red hair. Anyway, we made it. Looks like we made it. It's 4:30. It's late for you. I'm losing the beautiful California sunlight. So, all right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, follow your dreams, everyone. Woo woo.
Manifest it.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of time, but good things can happen. Don't give up. Like, genuinely, like, it's cliche as hell, but it's true. The people who succeed in publishing are the ones who don't give up. Not giving up is the main ingredient. So,
yes.
All right, everyone. Happy Saturday. Oh, just randomly, if you're here, I am doing a panel tomorrow. If you want to, it's the Teen Author Boot Camp. You can go to their Twitter to go to the link. It's on Zoom. I'm doing a panel with other YouTubers, including Christine Riccio, Kat Cho, Manny Lynn. We're gonna it's for teens, But if you're not a teen, that doesn't mean you couldn't sign up and watch it. So that's the thing I'm doing tomorrow that I just wanted to shout out. So yay.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.